The world around us is hostile to the Word of God and to biblical values, but we are called to be salt and light, to stand for truth in a decaying culture. We are not called to run from the fire, but be willing to step into the fire. God has placed you at this time in history on purpose and for a purpose. Join us as we get better equipped to address civics and culture from a biblical worldview. Welcome to Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church. Let's welcome our hosts Allison Furno and Debbie Vandenboom.
Today's topic is escaping communism. I'm joined by special guest Yonni Simion. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So Yonni and I, we've known each other for a very long time, right? You, how many years has it been? 20-something?
22 years.
22 years. Worked with my husband years and years ago. But you have such an interesting story, and so I wanted to kind of get into this story and how it pertains, how it pertains with what we're seeing going on in America today. So before we get into all of that, though, in your story, just a little bit about who you are, what you do right now.
Okay, so I was born in 61, so under the communism, was in full blown. And I left Romania at the age of 29. So pretty much I lived all my life till that point under the communism. And in 89 we had a big revolution, how they call it. You know, people went on the streets and they abolished the dictatorship or the communism. So pretty much all my life I didn't know anything else but that.
But communism.
Yes, and it comes in different forms. And people in here, what is really, really troubling me to see a lot of people in the United States over the last several years, slowly but surely, they are giving up their rights so easily when freedom, faith in God and freedom is the most precious things we have.
Yeah.
So I don't know. People, they don't even realize it. They're oblivion to what's going on. And it's troubled me. And you know what? I gave up everything just to run away from that.
Yeah. And we'll get into that story in just a minute. We'll go back into all of those details about your story.
Okay.
Right now, you are running, so you have a wife and you have children. What are you doing right now? Let's start with that.
So I've been here about 34 years. And I have 4 kids, 3 girls, 1 boy, you know, from ages 34 to 19.
Okay.
And for the last several years, for the last 2 years, got put into my heart to run, it's called a behavior facility.
Okay.
Behavior facility, it's a place where people with problems, drugs and alcohol problems, they need to go to get help after they go to a few days of detox. So these are people from the streets, which they have absolutely no hope. For years and years and years, some of them for 10, 15 years, they don't know anything else but just drugs and alcohol. And at one point or another, unfortunately, they either kill themselves, you know, the rate of dying from that is very high. ODs, or some of them, they just commit suicide. Or they find a place like ours where we try to give them hope and we do everything we can to keep them sober for as long as possible after they go to about a week in a detox.
Yeah.
So for that, you need very well-trained staff and medical personnel and supervision 24/7, a bunch of video cameras, and try to watch them like babies, just doing your best to keep drugs and alcohol away from the facility and from each other, because sometimes you do have to take them out. They have needs, and as soon as you go out with them, I had many, many times surprises and disappointments where I don't even know how come they snag some drugs or alcohol under my supervision.
Right.
So we've been doing that for the last 2 years, and I was told when I started this business, Yonni, if you're going to be able to save at least 1 of 10, it's an accomplishment.
Wow.
I was disappointed with the number in the beginning, so that's why so far we are about 33%,
Okay.
about 4 out of 10. They go through our program, they go back and they are now with their families, or they start a job, or they live in sober living. And I'm trying to change that numbers to at least half or better.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing now.
That's wonderful. And you are helping to try to get connected up in San Carlos, right, with the Indian reservation up there, to just to be connected with
White
some of
Mountains.
White
yeah,
Mountains.
you have here one of the pastors in this church. I mean, one of your, I understood your churches. It's in White Mountains.
Yes.
Pastor Sid is doing
Yes.
that, and
So you've been
I do
working
not
out.
have any residents from White Mountains from Apache Reservation. Most of our residents are from Navajo, which they are farther north.
Right.
But our commitment was from the beginning. I've been blessed so far, and I said, you know what? I don't know any other way to give back, but try to help people
Yeah.
in that kind of situation. And so far, we had close to probably 70, 80 residents through our facility, and we are trying to give back to White
help what they're
Mountain
doing up
Reservation.
there,
Yes,
yeah.
not
That's
only
wonderful.
helping them here, but with our resources, to help
Yeah.
them, the one back in the reservation when there is not too much to do and there's not too much hope back in the reservation.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I kind of wanted to start with that because so to establish, so you're a business owner, you've done, and you've been in real estate, you've done a lot of different things since I've known you. You've been involved in a lot of different types of businesses.
Yes,
But you had to start from scratch, right, with all of that in America. I mean, really, because you were telling me your story, and you had a life in Romania. So
Yes.
you, as you were saying at the very beginning, you were born in Romania when it was
Yes.
under communist rule.
Yeah.
It was in the Eastern Bloc, so with former Soviet Union and everything, the Berlin Wall and everything Eastern
Exactly,
Europe was
yes.
all communist. And so most of your life growing up in Romania and being an adult in Romania was under communism, and you had to we'll get into the details of that, but had to come and start completely over in America with nothing.
Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit. And so you grew up in communist Romania. There were several different communist leaders during your lifetime that you lived there.
No, it was only one.
Oh, there was only one.
was only
I thought there
one.
were a couple of them.
Yeah, pretty much Ceausescu is the only leader I know for 29 years.
That you remember from
Yes.
29. So you left when you were 29, is that what you
Yes,
said?
yes,
But what
yes.
was it like growing up in communism? Because I think people don't understand. They hear the word, they hear communism, they don't really know
Mm-hmm.
what it's like to live, how difficult it is to live under communism.
Because they don't understand pretty much what freedom is. Whatever they have in the United States, it's more than anybody would ever wish, to have the freedom to do whatever you want to do for your family and of course legally I'm talking about,
Right.
So in there pretty much the government is running everything. I mean 100%. I see it happening here right now. The government is trying to take over every single aspect of our lives.
Right.
The more power you give them, the more entitlement you think
Right.
you want from them, the more you go under their control. So
And so what is that control like? Like living in Romania, so you said they controlled everything. So they control how much food you get, what you do
for many years, everything was rationalized. I mean, every single family, every single person, they were telling you exactly how much sugar a month you are allowed to have, and you couldn't get more than that. So if they say the whole family is entitled to 1 kilo of sugar a month, that's all you got.
Right.
And they were telling you how much oil, how much a lot of necessities they were establishing how much you are allowed to have. And every single month, the one family member going with an ID and pick up that ration.
And that was it.
Bread or meat. Bread, you could find it easily, You can go and wait online sometime for a longer time than others. But meat was a luxury. Meat was a luxury, and people, they were waiting online for sometimes the whole day.
To get
to
meat.
find out, just to get not as much as they need or they want, just probably a couple of kilos and a couple of like 3-4 pounds of meat for the family.
Yeah.
I remember very well when I turned 18 and I finished high school, you know, and everybody's asking, what we're going to do next into a country like that? And I realized whatever I'm going to do, I have to do something to give me more power to be able to do more than anybody else, because just going everybody else, I wanted to be an engineer, and everybody say, if you are an engineer, you're going to end up in a factory and they're going to tell you where to go, when to go, what to do, how to do it. You have absolutely no control, just overseeing some people doing their job. So I had at that time a brother-in-law. He said, listen, if you want some freedom, you want to go for the Air Force, you want to go to become a pilot, you want to get out of this country. Otherwise, there is no way. You're going to be here in a prison like everybody else. So that's why when I had to go join the college, I decided to go for military aviation academy, which was giving me the option at the end to join, to fly, and or to work for the government as an officer. So
As a pilot.
Was at that time as a pilot, and then we found out that the government was giving all the resources we had, like light gas for flying, to foreign students, which they were in our country, and they were flying, and we were watching them flying, because the government want to make more foreign exchange, to get more currency, foreign currency, for the government and paying their debts anyhow. So it was frustrating. You go in there and you go to fly a lot and you see them flying and you are waiting, and a lot of time at the end of the 3-4 year academy, you didn't have enough flight hours to do whatever you want.
Right.
And the other requirement was after you finish, you had to go and to fly for agriculture, for crop duster.
Okay.
For many years, and most likely you lose your health by the time you do your mission in there. And I decided to go for, it's called navigation. You are running the control of everything is going on the air in the country. So at the age of 22, I was a major lieutenant in the Air Force, and running from the international airport in that country, being a present with everything was going on in there. And that gave me more freedom than 98% of the people in that country. Yeah. Yes.
Because I think you were telling me a story about, like, if people tried to find little ways to maybe get more food or get ahead a little bit, that they would crack down on that, right? So if you were just an average person that didn't have in Romania under communism, you couldn't even do anything.
You couldn't get ahead.
To get ahead.
So because a lot of entrepreneurial spirit people, they were trying to find ways to do more and to do it better. And,
take care of their family.
And they were controlling absolutely everything, all the financial resources you have. And anytime you really succeeded to find a way to do better, most of the time your level of taking away from government, because absolutely everything, you get to the point that anything you touch in that country, into a communist country, belong to the government. So they like to control what everybody has, what everybody makes, just enough to get by. As soon as you're managing to get farther, for them was one obvious answer. You found a way to steal from the government, which that was never true. But under that pretext, they start investigating you, taking away everything you accomplish, and most likely ended up in jail and into a prison in Romania. God knows, just before my generation, in Siberia or somewhere else, nobody can ever see you again.
Right.
So they were investigating you, and they always start on premises, you are guilty till proven innocent. Nobody's asking anything else. You just have to prove your innocence. And
so
you
just
are
being
innocent,
accused of something is pretty much a sentence, right?
And you do not ever, ever want to live into a country where every neighbor is spying on the other neighbor. You don't even know how that kind of living is.
Well, and you were talking about them encouraging even like family members to tell on each other.
You got it. Yeah, everything. you didn't know who to trust. You couldn't trust anybody, honestly, because even if they were your friends, at any point or another, they got themselves in trouble with the law. You know, they were trying to spill the beans on somebody else. Hopefully, they were going to get some brownie points and get out of the situation. So they were encouraging you to tell on everybody else everything you know. So, you know, it's a horrible way of living, you know, to know that you cannot trust anybody, even your best friend. And even if you really have somebody you can trust, I mean,
you never know.
Even my wife, if I was doing something to better ourselves and I didn't want the government to know, I couldn't tell my wife, not because I didn't trust her, because they were coming and they were using methods like taking your kid away. And, you know, as a mother, I had my oldest daughter now, she's 34, but she was just a year old.
Right.
And as a mother, if they threatened that they're going to take your kid away or, I mean, horrible stuff.
Right.
For her, was no secret, couldn't be told, just to make sure she's safe and to protect my kid.
Yeah.
So because of that, I couldn't say anything to anybody.
Right.
So it's a horrible way to live your life like that. And even if by age of 27, I was able to accomplish a lot more than they ever want me to, I have to keep everything covered. Yeah. And I couldn't enjoy anything I was doing. I had a lot of authority because I was working with the government and for the government as an officer, but I couldn't enjoy what I was doing. And what was the purpose of that?
Right. If you and it could be taken away at any second.
You got it. Yes.
If you cross the wrong person or get accused of something, then it's all gone.
You were just waiting for the day when they find something more. And they show up to your door, and to live like that every single time, the doorbell ringing, you know, it's a friend or is somebody coming here to start investigating anything like that. And I don't care what kind of financial rewards they were giving you. That you get to a point is nothing is worth it. I just want my freedom.
Yeah.
So
and
I left everything behind.
We'll talk about you leaving in just a second, but I did want to, when you and I talked earlier, we were talking about church, and you were saying that, okay, if you were an average person that really, you know, wasn't super important to the government, they didn't really care if people went to church, but if you worked for the government, you were not allowed to, right? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, they never mixed the church with politics or the government jobs because they didn't want you to be influenced by anything but just doing what they're asking you to do and working for them. So when I finished college, I got married because there was another word. If you are not married, you're presenting a danger for them. You have absolutely no ties to keep you grounded. So whatever mission they're having for you, or if they want to send you something out of the country, because at that point I was in the aviation and we had to go to other country for flight simulators, for training, for navigation training. You were cut off from the list unless you show some serious style, like married kids, just for you to be entitled.
Sure come back.
Yes. Yeah. So I did get married after college, and that gave me a little bit more freedom to do things I wanted to do, but it was never good enough for them. They always want to make sure they have your full attention, and you're not going to think about leaving that country.
And didn't you say that you had to have, like, you got married, excuse me, you got married in City Hall, but then you had a secret little church ceremony because you weren't allowed to...
My grandfather was a deacon of the church I grew up into, you know, and for him all his life, you know, coming to church, and I grew up going in a church as a kid. But as soon as I joined college and I started doing it, I was told that I cannot be seen back into a church. So otherwise, I was jeopardizing my job and everything else. So of course, I wanted to get married in a church, but I stopped for everybody's knowledge. I got married to the City Hall, And everything else after that never took place in their eyes, but I did meet in a secret with family and friends, and I went to a church farther away from the city where I was living, and we met in there, and we got a religious ceremony happening. So
Yeah.
but as long as they didn't know, but you always had this fear that they will find out. Somebody's going to spill the bean on you. Somebody's going to tell on you. And it's a horrible way to live your life every single day, knowing that that can be the last day.
And really, across the world, communism and religion, so
Yeah.
communism and Christianity are at odds because the communist government wants to be God, right? They want to be the all-powerful, the person that you come to for all of your needs, right? I mean, it's really, they
Yeah.
want to be the omnipotent, all-powerful provider of everything that you need. And if God is a competing force in that, then that's not, God is a competition for communism.
Absolutely. No compatibility between one or the other. They didn't want you to. I mean, we were forced to have, even if I was on the airport, we had some international passengers coming through our airport. We're supposed to go to report every single time we had any exchange of words with any other human being.
If you talk to somebody.
Yes. We're supposed to just, go and stop by their office and say, hey, guess what? I was stopped and I was asked this question, or somebody wanted to know this, or somebody to know that. Because if they see you talking with somebody and not stopping by to tell them what you've been asked or what you've been told, you are getting in trouble. So was not easy, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And that's when I start thinking and to find a way to live in there. I said, you know what? For a lot of people from outside, they say, you know what? He has a government job, and we are paid much, much better like that than an average worker or another engineer or a doctor, just because they want to keep us safe. I mean, to keep us on their side.
Right.
But at that point, money doesn't solve your problem if you live in fear all the time.
Right. So you had a what you're saying is you had a pretty decent life compared to most people in Romania. You had power, you had a limited amount of power, you had some position and money, more so than your average person in Romania.
Definitely.
But it was not enough. You wanted to have the freedom to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor and to not be living under that government oppression.
I mean, nobody would have ever thought that with the kind of life I had, I'm going to leave Romania, because they say, you know what, he's an officer, and yes, we are paying much more than average people, and we were entitled to have more money and to have more perks than other people. People were waiting online to get gas, sometimes even 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
The lines for gas, they were like miles away.
Wow.
Just to get a tank of gas. And even that was your only tank of gas for the month.
Wow.
And we had perks. Fortunately for us, we didn't have to wait on those lines. We could get our gas much easier and faster. We didn't have to wait on lines for meat. We had our own stores. So we did have perks, and somebody would believe, oh my God, with those kind of perks, what would you like to live?
Right.
But nobody understands how it is to live with whatever they give you, but with no freedom. And knowing that whatever you have can be taken away at any moment in time. So that's why by age of 29, in 1989 was a revolution. A lot of people start screaming on the streets for freedom and, getting happy that the communism was abolished. But after you live 29 years, that's too much to believe that it's really happening. So,
right. You think it's going to come back, right?
I know, yes. I said, something is going to happen very soon, any day, and they're going to take over again. So, they took him, the dictator Ceausescu, but it wasn't just him, it was the system. Because he didn't know too much. I mean, when he was walking on the streets, a lot of people, they were taking off from schools or work just to be on the streets to acclaim him, to see him running by,
Right.
make him believe that everybody's adoring him, and so who was doing all of that? Not him.
Right.
He was seeing that everybody's there and everybody's clapping and everybody's smiling and everybody's waving, and that's the way he was living. But the system itself is not just the dictatorship; it's the system itself who's controlling everything
Right.
about you. So
So you
Yeah.
decided to leave and come to America.
yes, so
what
as
was
soon
that
as
like?
that happened, well, a lot of people, they were very optimistic about the future, but still a lot of people like myself, we didn't believe that kind of freedom, temporary freedom, would
yeah.
last. And I said, you know what, this is the time for me to go. And a lot of people, when they left Romania, unfortunately, they had to try their chance, to swim over the Danube River, which a lot of them, they lost their life trying to swim over that river. It's a pretty big river. And a lot of people tried to cross the border illegally, and they got caught and got arrested. Some of them, they got shot. And some of them, the few who made it, and I met them later in the United States, they walked away for hundreds of miles to get somewhere into another country, crossing the border, and they made it. And they had a very hard time to get. They went to asylum, to prison, for a while before they end up coming here. To me, thanks God, at that time, working for the airline, we had vouchers, free traveling all over the world, So I got a voucher, and I said, I'm just going to go for a short vacation outside of the country, and I will be back. And it just happened as soon as I got here. A couple of weeks later, I was planning to stay here a few months. So I was told back by my colleagues and my friends that everything is getting uglier again, and they are trying to ask for some more rights, and everybody supposed to get fired, and everybody. So I said, no, that's not freedom. That's still communism. So that's when I decided to stay. And I was asking my wife at that time to pick up the kid and follow me. And she got a lot of threats, and she was told, you're never going to make it up the country with your kid. And guess what? Whatever he left behind, it's enough for you to live very comfortable. Why would you go into another country? You don't know the language. You're not going to be anybody there. At least in here you can enjoy what you have. And very soon I received the divorce papers. And I found myself in this country at the age of 30, alone, and starting all over again.
Right.
So it wasn't easy, but the price of freedom was worth going through everything I went through, yeah.
And so you requested political asylum at some point, right?
After I decided to stay, first thing I asked, I was an officer, and I could prove that I was in the system, and if I go back, nobody can guarantee my safety. So I said, I'm afraid to go back. They say it's going to change,
right.
But I don't believe the change, it happened really. People, they were still shooting each other on the street. I mean, you could still hear shooting on the streets. Nobody knew who's shooting, and nobody know why. And in a country where nobody had like in United freedom to carry arms.
Right.
But people are still getting shot on the street and getting killed. And a lot of people say, you know what, his old personal guards, they're still trying now after Ceausescu was arrested and was killed just around Christmas in '89. Still a lot of people, they were trying to keep the power and didn't want to give up on the bone.
Right. To get away that power. And
yes.
you had people in Romania telling you not to come back.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. They say, you know what? If you made it in there, and if you are in there, and if you can find another way, I wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
So that's why I started. And today, even for my residents, it's a testimony. These people, they are coming to my facility believing there is no hope for them.
Right.
I say, why do you believe that there is no hope for you? Oh, yeah, we lost the job, we lost, we've been in alcohol for so long. I said, do you want to know my story? I said, age of 29, do you think I had a job? I didn't have a right to work. I didn't have absolutely anything. My family was left half away around the world. So when I started, I didn't even know the language.
Yeah.
If somebody like me with no knowledge of the language, no job, no right to work, and no future whatsoever, I made it, what make you believe you wouldn't?
Right.
That's just in your mind. I'm here to let you know that if you are in this facility, you are because I believe in you and I know you can make it. It's up to you. And I like to tell them, we had some services in a church, and for a couple of weeks and say, I want to know that you're going to run with the horses and not going to walk with the crowd.
Yeah.
Don't let the crowd, tell you that you cannot make it and you cannot beat this addiction, because you can.
Yeah.
You can, and we can win together. And now I'm happy to say that everybody's in my facility right now. They are going full speed, and
That's good.
nobody's touching drugs. And the government, because we are run by Arizona Department of Health, they came several times in inspections and everything else, and they found us deficiency free, and they like to see what we are doing. But it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, because anything can happen at any time.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, they've been in jails for many, many years.
Right.
And some of them, they are acting like they have nothing to lose. And that's not...
Right.
So...
Well, it's good that your story then can be an inspiration
Yes,
to them. And,
yes.
you said
because-
something to me when we were talking before we met here about trading, that you were willing to trade everything that you had for the opportunity of freedom.
Yeah, I have a little story just to give you an example of how much freedom means for people. You see, in Romania in the 80s, early 80s, we had only 2 television stations, 2 channels. And not to be confusing, was called Channel 1 and Channel 2. So one of them was about 4 hours, the other one was like 3 hours. And was late in the afternoon, and they were ending up not past 10 o'clock, because they want everybody to go to bed to be ready to go to work next day, And 80-90% of everything was on these channels was just propaganda, communist propaganda, the most beloved son of the Communist Party, and a lot of Russian movies, a lot of war, because it was still Romania was under Russian,
right?
Soviet Union at that time control and influence. And if we ever been shown something else from the Western, like Western Europe or United States, was only people next to the subway station living in a cardboard boxes and, walking on each other, killing each other for a piece of bread, trying to make you believe that that's the life outside Romania. Was just living in a cardboard box like an animal. And who the heck want to live like that?
So that's the way they were painting
Yes,
America.
that's the way of painting America. That's the way of painting Germany and any other civilized country. And you couldn't see anything else but that.
Right.
Because it was brainwashing. I would like to call that exactly what they are doing today with us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's sad to say, but a lot of news today, I don't want to go in a politic, but it's fake news.
Right.
And they try to make you believe something which has nothing to do with reality.
Right.
But because you don't have another source of information, at that time we didn't have any. Today, all you have to do is to look farther, to look deeper,
Right.
and you're going to find what's going on. But at that time, you could not. All you had was these 2 channels for a few hours. And because of that, people were trying to build bigger and bigger and bigger. We didn't have cable. Everything was through antenna. We didn't have anything else. And people were trying to build bigger and bigger TV antennas outside.
To try to get
Hopefully to get something from the neighboring countries. And as soon as...
This was before the internet. So.
Yeah, way before the internet. I'm talking about in 80s, 70s and 80s. And as soon as people start managing to kind of get some reception from outside, they use their military to build stations to to kind of distort any kind of signal. Not even radio signal or television signal
Couldn't get in, yeah.
can get into that country.
Well, and when you control the
Yes.
information like that, right?
Yes.
So that's an information
Yes.
control, and you alluded to that. And that to kind of like the last thing I want to talk about
Yeah.
here is what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Because since you grew up in that, you're very familiar with what that looks like. And there's so many, people that are like, you're looking around and seeing this push toward Marxism, push toward communism, and a lot of younger people, especially, I think, are enamored with it, the idea of it, and think that it's something great, and that it would be a great thing because it makes everybody equal, and you're all equally poor and controlled, I guess, so you are equal in that sense, but. There's a lot of just misunderstanding of what it is to live under communism. And so one of the things you said was propaganda, right? You see a lot of that
Yes.
even in the news. And the fortunate thing is you can change the channel. People
The way
don't.
this portrayed, giving your freedom and let them control you, the way it's portrayed is totally distorted.
So explain that a little bit. Because you said this to me another time about that. Every time you're given something for free, there's a string attached,
There
right?
is never, ever, ever anything for free. If you believe for a second that whatever you are given is for free,
By the government, right?
please, please, please look deeper.
Yeah,
I mean, just absolutely everything has a purpose behind it.
right.
And nothing is more expensive than freedom. Nothing. And I don't know, one of the presidents, old president of the United States, he said, if you just give up your freedom for benefits or for rewards or something, you're going to lose them both because you don't deserve either one of
Right.
them. Do not give up your freedom for anything out there. And just shortly, people, they were willing to give 20, 30 years of savings, of money savings in that country. And that's how I made a lot of money by age of 27. Because people, they were so sick and tired, watch whatever they want you to watch and being controlled, that something came about in the 80s, early 80s, 83, 84, we changed a lot of people's life. And I was in the middle of it, and I made a lot of money doing that. I was, VCRs came about,
yeah.
and it was the only way people, they were buying VCRs and like 5, 10, 20 tapes, and was a network of people with VCRs and tapes, and they were exchanging this. And because of that,
So then you can watch things from
you
outside
can
of
watch
the country.
something else that they were asking you to watch. You can really watch a full American movie.
Right.
And because of that, all these people were there on watch list. And because I was the
We're
one
on a watch
helping
list
them,
for watching a movie.
or government,
Yes.
on a watch list that you are helping people see what they don't want them to see. So that's why I help a lot of people doing that. And they say in life, if you help a lot of people get what they want,
Yeah.
you're gonna have what you want. So at the age of 27, I probably had many hundreds of families watching VCRs and seeing something else out
Contraband
there, and I
VCR.
was set forever.
Wow.
But that was my plan. And then I
Yeah.
said, I don't care about anything. I just
You
want
left
to
all
live.
of that.
I say, because if they find out, probably they're going to shoot me. So
Right.
it's time for me to go.
For distributing VHS tapes.
VHRs, yeah. People say, what did you do, drugs? I said, no, I just give people freedom
You gave people,
to just
yeah.
not being brainwashed. And because of that, my life was on jeopardy and
Wow.
everything else.
That's crazy.
So, but, taking advantage of opportunities is
Right.
the life all about. You have to know and you have to read and see behind the scene.
The deceit. Yeah.
Don't take everything is being given to you as being true, and you know what, you have to know that something is asked of you. If anything is given, nothing
Yeah.
is free.
Nothing is free.
No.
And to not take our freedoms for granted.
Never.
And the freedom to vote. So now you are a citizen now.
I've been a citizen for about 30 years or 29 years, yes.
And so you take voting seriously, and
Definitely.
all of these things, paying attention to what's going on in the government, all of those things, because you've seen it, you've seen what it's like on the other end, and how we're teetering on this idea of communism. It's funny because we kind of go in waves, and it was anti-communist for such a long time, and then now you have some of the same the TV stations
Exactly. When I
communism.
came in here, just mentioning that you are affiliated one way or another with communism was like a crime. And
Right.
I love that. You say, oh, so-and-so was involved with communism. And here
We
it's
want yeah.
somebody, disgrace a person who doesn't, how I suppose, is not seen very, very well. And I
Right.
like that. But today, to see it so clear, like day and night, when they are promoting this kind of communistic and socialist ideas, trying to make you believe, you give the government more power, they're going to take care of you, everything is going to be, and they are trying to push this universal income and all of that.
Universal income.
If they
and,
do that,
yeah.
they're gonna, and again, probably everybody knows that, or it's not a conspiracy theory. Everything we do and watch, everything we do today, it's watched.
Yeah.
It's watched, it is recorded, and sooner or later it's going to be used against you.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. So don't believe for a second you're going to get by with something, because you'll not, and you're going to have to pay for all of these free perks they say that you have.
If we let it
Yes.
continue to go unchecked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So something needs to be done, and at least awareness is probably the only thing we can do about it. Make people aware.
Yeah.
And some people may call us conspiracy theorists, but I lived in there 29 years. I know how it's at. And you know what? To me, it's so obvious. I can see it every single day, all over the place, and people that are oblivious to it.
Yeah, and all of this talk of like the trying to pit rich and poor against each other, and that's a big thing too. And you see that on some of the political campaigns, what's trying to promote this idea of income inequality.
They will use anything.
Right.
They will use anything. They have no limit.
No.
They're not going to stop to anything just to convince you that their way it's a better way. It's a big lie.
So
I don't know
offering
how they
things for
pack
free
it.
and taking more control.
Yes.
So you're giving up freedom, giving up control to get things for free. So again, we're back to, okay, the government becomes God.
You got it. So
The government controls everything and gives you what, hands things out to you, and you have no say in anything.
this is a country where you have the freedom to go as far as you like to go, as long as you don't wait for somebody to hand you over anything, because
Right.
nothing free comes with no strings attached. So
And you're living proof of that, right? So, came here with nothing, and now you're a business owner and you're donating to charity, right?
yes, I mean,
And helping other people.
At the age of 45, in just 15 years, starting from nothing, I was financial free.
Yeah.
And
where else in the world
unfortunately,
could you do that other
I
than
knew your
America, right?
husband, and we were in the same boat, and he knows me better than anybody else. I thought at the age of 45 that I will never going to have to work again, but
Yeah.
I was set financially. But the crisis 2008, 2009, 2010 came, and I lost everything
Yeah.
for the second time in my life,
Yeah.
And you know what? But thank God for this country, because it's full of opportunities, and just never give up. I just start all over again, because it doesn't matter how many times you fail. It's how many times you get up and try again. So
Yeah.
all over again, third
Right.
time is a charm. So we start all over. And now I said, first time I did it my way. Now let me see how I can help really, really have an impact on people around me, and how I can help others accomplish what they need to accomplish. And I'm very grateful for being in a position right now. And all these guys, it's like these are my brothers and my sister, like my kids. Some of them are young.
Yeah.
They're in their 20s. And they don't know what they're doing. And
Right.
once in a while, I have this talk with them. Let me tell you my story.
Right.
And if you think your story gives you an excuse not to try again and to give up, then I don't know what to tell you anymore,
Right.
because this is where I came from, and this is what I've been through, and this is where I'm at.
And there's no better place to do that than in this country, right?
Yes.
So we
Yes.
need to be protecting that, praying for our country, using our freedom to go to church and to have that, so that they're not taking that away. And
Debbie,
voting
so
for
much
people.
deceit every single day. All you can pray for, and all I wish everybody here and pray for wisdom. Is for wisdom, for you to find a discernment between what's being said and what's being true.
Between propaganda
Yes,
and reality, right?
You got it. You
Yeah.
got it. So
And we do. God gives us the ability to discern that. The Holy Spirit can help us sift through all of that information. So it's not a time to be afraid. It's a time to be praying and seeking, but being aware and knowing that, being able to recognize what that threat of Marxism and communism is, because it's very present in our country right now, and it's very anti-church, anti-God. But we have the ability to both pray and to vote to protect what the freedoms and the freedoms that we have in this country, so that more people can come here with nothing like you did and make it.
The Bible said it, that a time is going to come when doing the right thing is going to make you feel wrong, and doing the wrong thing is going to make you feel right. These are those times.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, right now, the only thing you have is prayer.
Right.
And God, I know that never, ever, ever, ever let me down. Even if I didn't know God, He knew me and He loved me and He protected me and He always showed me a way out of it. And I believe that everybody here, especially people know God personally, they have absolutely nothing to fear. All they need is the wisdom to make the right decision in every situation, and that's gonna keep you safe.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, thank you so much for joining. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for being here, and thank you for joining me on Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You can listen to this podcast on Apple and Spotify, and follow us on social media. Find all the info on the show notes. To learn more about Dream City Church, visit our website at dreamcitychurch.us. Thanks for listening.